My addiction started way before I even realized it. Even in my mother's womb, she was always an alcoholic and drug addict. Um, I didn't necessarily know if I was addicted to something when I came out, but I know that she smoked marijuana the whole time she was pregnant. Um, but I don't want to put it out there, put her out there in the way that seems like I'm bashing her, because to be honest, me and my biological mom, we have great, great relationship. We don't always talk, and she wasn't always around, but my grandparents, they raised me since I was like 2 years old, 3 years old. And in that time, my mom was really in my life a lot. But the first, unusual thing was that I called her Tammy by her, real name, not Mama. And I called my grandma Mama, you know? And to be honest, I thought it was normal. I thought that was the way it was. I never felt abandonment or left alone or lonely. My grandparents, they took really great care of me, but the truth of the matter is that, my mom she never quit, smoking weed and cigarettes while she was pregnant with me. And so I believe my drug addiction started even before I even realized it. I remember being 2, 3 years old in a crack house at 12 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that. I just have this flash in my head where I remember, being in a place where it was a lot of people in there and it was just foggy, full of smoke. And I remember my mom and her boyfriend, Leroy, smoking something on a can, and her saying, like, he don't understand what we're doing. He's too little, it's fine. But I remember those moments. I remember seeing them do it, but not really remembering their actions afterward. As time went on, my mom, Tammy, she kind of slowly moved out of the picture so much, she was as lost as I was, essentially. And life went on as normal as I thought it was normal. She was in and out, And then about 7 years old, my grandparents get a divorce, and my granddad was like the man of my dreams, like he's a superhero, man I look up to with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength. Like, my dad is my hero. And then here I am getting stripped away from him at 7 years old. And I remember right before this happened, I remember my dad cutting grass. And I would ride on the lawnmower with him all day while he cut grass, because I love my dad, right? And I remember jumping off the thing and putting my hand right on the muffler. It was burning. I cried and cried and cried. They did everything they thought they could do besides take me to the hospital, until in the middle of the night, I remember my grandma, which I call Mom, she told my dad, take him to, your cousin, my granddad, her husband. And so he took me. I remember being afraid of this lady, but my daddy picked me up, and I didn't want to have anything to do with her, but he gave her my hand. And I remember her grabbing my hand, and I could feel her speaking to my hand, but I didn't even hear what she had to say. And then I remember physically feeling the burning, the fire of it just come right out of my hand. And soon after that, my mom and my grandma and granddad got a divorce, stripped me away from my dad. And I remember having lucid dreams and blacking out and sleepwalking right after that. Looking back now, I can see how whatever she'd done, while she healed me, she gave me a spirit in return. And I remember the rage that would come upon me after that really plummeted me into a life of rebellion and sin, like just anger and hatred that I had never necessarily known beforehand. And there was 3 instances where I was sleepwalking, and one time I just remember waking up and I was crying, and I was crying out to my mom. And I remember grabbing a stool and putting it by the door because my uncle would, put a lock at the top so the kids couldn't get out, And I remember getting a stool and getting up there, and we lived right on a busy, busy highway. And in the dream, I'm crying for my mom, crying for my mama, and I'm about to go outside, and my Aunt Susan, she's, "Jeremy," and it wakes me up, and I don't realize what's happening. I just kind of startle myself out of the dream. Um, Another time, which was the first time, it was just a normal thing, woke up in the kitchen kind of thing. But the third time that it happened, I was actually camping, and it was like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning or something. And we were right by the water, and all I remember is someone picking me up really quick out of the water. And I realized that I had I had got out of the tent and walked into the water. And now I know the enemy was trying to take my life.